Long before flags unified territories, laws, or armies, a quieter force bound the ancient Mediterranean together. Prices, not edicts, not borders, not conquest, just the steady, uncompromising logic of exchange. By the time Roman legions advanced along the coasts, merchants had already accomplished what emperors would later struggle to control. They transformed a fractured, violent, multilingual world into a shared economic arena, where goods carried broadly predictable value from one shore to another. The architects of this order were not kings or generals. They were traders. Welcome to this channel, where money, power, and history intersect, and where the past is never as simple as it appears to modern observers today. To grasp how extraordinary this development was, you have to imagine the Mediterranean world roughly 12 centuries before the Common Era. This was not a connected system. It was fragmented, unstable, and perpetually tense. Independent city-states competed for survival. Kingdoms clashed over coastlines and trade routes. Pirates controlled large stretches of open water. There was no shared legal framework, no universal medium of exchange, and no authority capable of enforcing agreements beyond local borders. Most people lived and died close to where they were born, and suspicion of outsiders was a rational response to risk. By every theoretical measure, large-scale trade should have collapsed under these conditions. And yet, by the early first millennium BCE, goods were circulating across vast distances with remarkable regularity. Tin extracted in Iberia reached workshops in the eastern Mediterranean. Copper from Cyprus flowed steadily into bronze production centers. Timber from the Levant supported shipbuilding far from its source. Dyes, glassware, textiles, and metal goods passed through ports that shared no political allegiance, yet operated within a shared economic logic. The agents behind this transformation were the Phoenicians. They did not assemble an empire. They did not project military dominance. They did not impose law through conquest. In fact, they rarely attempted to unify territory at all. Their achievement took a different form. They constructed a commercial network that functioned across political boundaries and endured despite them. Phoenician civilization was composed of small coastal cities such as Tyre, Sidon, and Bib. These were not fortified continental powers. They lacked deep agricultural hinterlands and could not sustain long wars of attrition. Their survival depended on mobility, exchange, and credibility. Ships mattered more than walls. Relationships mattered more than force. Reputation mattered more than territory. If commerce broke down, so did the city. That vulnerability shaped their entire economic culture. Without the ability to coerce, Phoenician traders had to persuade. Without courts or cross-border enforcement, they had to rely on repeated dealings. Over time, this necessity produced something critical: a dense web of trust. And once trust operates at scale, it begins to discipline behavior automatically. The earliest standardization imposed by Phoenician trade was not numerical pricing. It was conduct. In an environment where no external authority could punish fraud, the market itself became the judge. A merchant who cheated might extract a single gain, but that gain came at the cost of permanent exclusion. Information circulated between ports. Traders compared experiences. Reputations traveled faster than ships. Trust became an economic asset, and losing it carried a cost far greater than any single transaction. This aspect is often misunderstood. Trust was not a moral principle. It was an economic mechanism. Inclusion meant access to markets. Exclusion meant isolation, and isolation in a networked trade system was fatal. In the absence of formal institutions, reliability became the currency that allowed commerce to function. Once this behavioral discipline stabilized, prices began to converge. Not because anyone dictated them, but because competition enforced them. Phoenician traders specialized in commodities with broadly understood utility and steady demand. Copper and tin formed the basis of bronze. Silver functioned as a store of value measured by weight, not authority. Timber served predictable construction needs. These goods derived value from function, not decree. Here is where the system locked into place. When tin commanded a lower price in Iberia than in eastern markets, traders transported it east. When copper was plentiful in Cyprus and scarce elsewhere, routes adjusted accordingly. Every profitable difference in price attracted competitors, and as competitors entered, those differences narrowed. This was not modern finance. It was arbitrage, the simple act of buying where goods were cheap and selling where they were expensive, and arbitrage did what it always does. It erased inefficiency. As Phoenician trade intensified, extreme pricing became impossible to sustain. A merchant in one port could not charge wildly above prevailing norms if others knew conditions elsewhere. Ports that attempted isolation were bypassed. Markets enforced discipline faster than rulers ever could. There was no central plan guiding this outcome, no council determining acceptable margins. Standardization emerged as a consequence of survival. Traders who adapted to market realities endured. Those who did not disappeared from the network entirely. Yet the Phoenicians' most decisive advantage was neither geography nor metallurgy. It was information. They possessed early knowledge of failed harvests, flooded mines, and disrupted routes caused by war. In a world where news traveled only as fast as wind and ore, awareness itself was power. Those who knew first could move first, and those who moved first shaped outcomes before others understood what was happening. This informational edge allowed Phoenician traders to anticipate price shifts rather than simply react to them. They redirected cargoes before shortages became visible. They absorbed surpluses before local prices collapsed. In doing so, they reduced volatility across regions. Scarcity in one area was offset by supply from another. Excess in one port was redistributed before value disintegrated. Over time, producers adjusted their expectations. Farmers, miners, and craftsmen no longer priced goods solely according to local circumstances. They began factoring in what the wider Mediterranean market would accept. Coastal hubs synchronized. Inland economies followed more slowly, and through this gradual alignment, something unprecedented emerged. An integrated economic system that operated independently of political authority. The Phoenicians never ruled the Mediterranean, but they rendered it understandable, predictable, tradable. Economic integration did not follow empire. Empire followed economic integration. This reversal is often missed in historical narratives. Yet it explains what came next. Once prices stabilized, trade accelerated. As trade accelerated, profits increased. And profitability attracted attention from a different class of actors. Not merchants but states, because predictable value can be measured. Measured value can be taxed, and taxed value invites control. Greek city-states were among the first to formalize what Phoenician traders had established informally. They introduced stamped coinage, not to invent value, but to certify it. Coins did not create worth. They signaled it. A stamped piece of silver represented weight plus political backing. The market already understood silver's function. The state simply claimed authority over its circulation. Rome would later refine this approach. The Roman Empire did not originate Mediterranean trade. It inherited a system that already existed. Ports were connected, routes were established, prices were broadly aligned. Rome added enforcement. Legions secured lanes. Law codified contracts. Taxation extracted value from networks merchants had built without imperial oversight. This was the paradox of Phoenician success. By making markets efficient, they made them visible, and visibility made them governable. Their system did not collapse due to failure. It was absorbed because it functioned too well. As state authority expanded, informal trust networks were replaced by institutions. Reputation yielded to regulation. Weighed metal gave way to minted currency. Negotiated exchange was replaced by taxation. Merchants adapted, as they always do. Some prospered, but control shifted upward. Markets unified the Mediterranean before empires could. Empires ultimately decided who benefited from that unification. This pattern did not end in antiquity. In the modern world, the structure remains familiar, though vastly enlarged. There is no global, sovereign governing trade. Yet prices for oil, wheat, copper, and shipping converge worldwide. A drought in one region affects markets across continents. A blocked shipping route raises costs thousands of miles away. Value is coordinated through networks, not borders. The US dollar functions, much like Phoenician silver once did, not because it is legally mandated everywhere, but because markets accept it. Trust, liquidity, and information granted authority before politics intervenes. Modern economies price assets, debt, and risk against benchmarks they do not control. Just as ancient traders referenced Mediterranean norms, globalization did not begin with container ships or algorithms. It began when merchants recognized that inefficiency was costly and coordination was profitable. But this coordination carries consequences. Prices adjust globally and instantly. Wages do goods respond faster than labor. Inflation moves ahead of income. Assets react before paychecks. Those closest to information and liquidity adapt first. Nothing fundamental has changed. Only scale. Power has not vanished. It has repositioned itself. States tax flows rather than land. Corporations arbitrage regulation instead of distance. Individuals navigate systems that feel abstract and remote. The central lesson left behind is simple. Power does not create markets. Markets generate power. Those who standardize value rarely need to rule openly. They shape outcomes quietly, and once systems grow large enough, no one fully controls them. They can only influence, extract, or defend against their effects. History rarely repeats, but misunderstanding it carries the same cost. If this reframed how you see markets and power, subscribe. The Past Explains patents this channel shows you where to find them before they matter.